Hello everybody, good morning. It's Matt Allner out in Colorado. Just wanted to make a real quick video here this morning. Something God's had on my heart to share. I've been wanting to share this for a while, but just didn't feel God pressing me to share it until now. A lot of you have been kind of wondering about the remedy process. I know a lot of people that have been coming to me in Colorado, hearing what I'm doing, wanting to know more about this process of notices and affidavits. And the number one question that keeps coming up, which is a question a lot of people have when they first start learning about it, is where's the teeth in the process? Where's the enforcement part? If we can remove bad actors quickly, or get remedy and get things to change so quickly, where's the teeth in that? How do we force people to do that? Well, before I share a little bit about what happened with my son, our son and daughter in two different states last year in the same school year. One happened with my son at a university he goes to in Texas, and the other happened with my daughter in our school district where we live, which is the notice and issue I'm pushing right now. But the thing that is so fascinating about this is the power of pressure is essentially what this is, and people still don't think that that's a strength in itself. I'm a business owner. I'm a contractor in Colorado. I used to be an educator. I taught for 20 years. My dad taught for almost 40. I taught grad school as well as in the K-12 system. I was a research scientist for NASA. They funded all my research in grad school, and then I worked with their NASA Mars science team, a very, very elite, intelligent group of people for the better part of about 8 years. Had a great run with them, a lot of fun. But where I'm going with this is I'm a boss now. I own a business. I employ approximately 20 people. A lot of them are subcontractors, so I don't full employ them, but I provide work for quite a few people. I'm going to pull over and stop my car here for just a minute to talk to you. From time to time as a boss, things will come up where my workers don't do something well. They spill paint on our roof, they don't caulk in the windows properly, they don't shim and install a door properly, things of those natures. Things come up. Sometimes guys just are in a hurry to get home or whatever the situation may be, and they don't look things over. Sometimes they're just being flat out lazy. And bottom line is, as a boss, I got to fix that, especially if I see it and notice it's wrong. But sometimes a client will bring it to my attention, which is the worst situation because it's embarrassing, and it chisels on your credibility as an owner. So at that point you have to deal with it. So obviously you bring your workers back, you tell the owners you're going to fix it, and you do. But then you kind of get down to the point of what caused this. Well, certain things just happen. It's human nature. We're all human. But sometimes what happens is people just are flat out lazy. And when I have workers that leave messes on jobs, leave trash laying around, leave a huge mess, I have to deal with that. And I've had to let people go because of those things. I always give them a chance to come back and fix it and then get back on track and not do it again. But in an instance I had with a guy that was doing all my drywall work, he just got sloppy lazy for some reason out of the blue. I think he was into some drugs and drinking and some things in his life that I was unaware of. It's the only thing I could think of that made sense. But I had to let him go. He was a bad actor under my business. He was representing me bad. He was damaging my ability to maintain a strong relationship with my client that gives me referrals and leads, and also brings more work to me. So I had to let him go, and I had to let the owner know I had to let him go. I don't know if this owner will hire me back in time. I guess I'll find out. But that was my ability, my strength, if you will, to enforce, is eventually I have to let them go. Well, if we apply this to what we're dealing with right now with regards to our bad actors, how do we just let them go? We know we're the boss. Those of us that understand our rights, we know we're in charge. We know we're the boss. They're our servants. However, they're not listening. They're ignoring. We're giving them chances to change. And we get to the point where, okay, they're not listening anymore. We want to remove them. We're the boss. We want to fire them, replace them, bring somebody else in that will listen and do the right thing, help us get our business back on track. But how do we do that? It's a little different situation in the case of where we are as the people with our government actors, school board members, things of that nature. And I'm going to speak specifically to school board since that's my issue I'm pushing right now. We have to do it in the form of pressure. You saw what recently happened with the head of Secret Service, Cheadle. She was subpoenaed to come to meet with Congress, where they grilled her with questions on that Monday, the following Monday after the assassination attempt. So I think it was like 9 days later. She came. People said she wasn't going to show. She did. And they grilled her with questions, and most of us watched and saw what happened. What was interesting is what happened the next day is she was removed. Sorry, she resigned. She removed herself because of all that pressure. There's some other things I'll talk about in another video I'm going to do here soon, but I want to get back to my son's situation. With the Secret Service director stepping down, she stepped down for a variety of reasons, and I'm sure there's even others we're unaware of, but she stepped down because of pressure. She got pressure from both sides of the aisle. She had enormous pressure coming from the American people who, their representatives did what they wanted, the people wanted them to do, which was call that meeting and expose and ask questions and get answers. But she resigned ultimately because of a lot of pressure. And whether the people that were pulling her puppet strings told her to resign, doesn't matter. There was enormous pressure. And that's what did the trick for her. So how do we create enough pressure so that if we get down the road in the notices and affidavits trail that a lot of us are creating with our grievances, we don't get to that dead end and get stuck. The key lies in our ability as a boss to sell our ideas to our communities, to sell to our friends and our neighbors and our family members to get on board and help us, be a voice with us, learn this process with us. The founding fathers, I'm sure the idea of starting a country started with a few small group of people, but it had to grow. It couldn't just happen with a single person or a small group of 5 or 10. I mean, look at the list of people that signed the Declaration of Independence. It wasn't 5 people, and it wasn't one person. There were several. And so we don't need the whole nation, but we need enough people. And there isn't a magic number. We'll know the magic number when the pressure that we bring with that number causes these bad actors to cave, resign, get fired, get pushed out, or they don't get pushed out and they give in and break and do what we ask them to do, which is the other thing we're asking them to do. We're not asking them to leave, we're asking them to change. So to my son's situation, this was last fall, school year 23-24. He was at the university, first year, not a first year college student, not a high school. We made sure all of our kids got 2 years at community college, stayed close to home after high school for a couple years where we could, educate them and protect them more spiritually before we sent them out into that world that's designed to chisel away at everything we've worked for 18, 19, 20 years to make solid and pure and godly. He goes off to his university, and within the first week of school, he has a gay teacher, which he came and kind of let me know, not because he wanted out of the class or anything, but he wanted me to know. And I said, well, that's the way it is. You're gonna, have coworkers that are gay. You're gonna run into people that are gay. I mean, it doesn't mean you gotta run and hide from them. I've had friends that are gay, and doesn't mean I hated them, but there is a line when it comes to them pushing their ideals on you or making you feel they're normal and okay, where you have to, spiritually protect yourself and try to, set those boundaries. So anyway, he was enjoying the class for the most part. But then things started to turn south on a project they were given. This was in an English class. They were given a project to, it was all about pronouns, and where they were told to read 4 articles that were all about transgender and pronouns, and then pick 2 of the articles to do an analysis on. Well, this stuff all violated my son's religious rights. It bothered him, He didn't want to read this stuff. He doesn't agree with it. He doesn't believe in it, and he shouldn't be forced to read something that violates his religious, freedoms and his religious liberty of conscience. So he came to me kind of at the last minute to tell me what was going on right before the assignment was due. And I was upset as a parent, and I told him, I said, well, you can just go complain to the teacher, but he's going to ignore you. If you make this public in front of the class and share concerns and ask questions to your teacher respectfully and not disrespectfully, and questions that you think that other students probably have as well, it'll open up a communication, an opportunity for people to start talking about it. And chances are you'll encourage other people through your courage to stand up and do something about this. So I gave him a list of 10 questions to go back and ask his professor in front of the class. And once he started asking those questions, the professor did exactly what I told my son he was going to do. He's going to try to divert you to just meet with him after class, and he'd be happy to answer your questions. Well, he wants you to go one-on-one where it can't be public. And I told my son, don't let him do it. Just keep asking the questions. If he ignores it and gets upset and tries to redirect you, move on to the next question. Get all your questions out so everybody can hear them. So my son did this. I told him to record it so I could hear the conversation. And he and I have that, and I might archive it on X, I don't know. But he did that, and the professor did exactly what I told my son he was going to do. At a certain point, my son was going to call him out on so much truth that he couldn't answer, and he knew he was trapped and caught and exposed, that he would throw down a card and try to have Nathan threatened to be removed. And that's exactly what happened, as the teacher threatened to call the campus police and have him removed. He was censoring my son in front of his classmates. Well, the ripple effect from that was, after the questions, I already had an email drafted and ready to go, and because I had worked in higher academia, I knew how to speak in their language where they would listen and not blow me off. And I sent it up the chain to the department chair, who actually promotes queer rhetoric, and it's advertised on the university website. And some of the things he's involved in are just absolutely radical, and I'm going to share them on X here very soon. To my surprise, the response I got back was very, very positive, very, very favorable. They were basically scared. They weren't apologizing. They knew exactly what they were doing. This teacher was given permission to do it because they wouldn't answer those questions either. And so this is what ended up happening was they pulled my son in and interviewed and talked to him. Well, he was told, and then other students came up to him and said, hey, we went in and complained too, and our parents are complaining. And through that pressure, the university, the department backed off. They stopped everything. They revamped the curriculum for that semester, and there was nothing more that took place moving forward. What was also interesting was he had a substitute for a couple of weeks because his professor had some illness and some issues going on. And when the professor came in to fill in for this teacher, he told the class, he apologized. He said, but I don't recognize these materials, and I don't recognize this because I'm teaching the same class, but I'm not teaching this. So this was to me, it was like an experimental opportunity, and the department was going to see if they could push this stuff through, if students would resist and push back, and they did. I've waited until this fall. I wanted to make sure my son got out of these English classes and was done, and that they didn't come after and target his grade and his GPA, which they didn't, before I'm going to reach back out to the university, the regents of the university, the president, and then also some members of the Texas legislature, Senator Cruz and others in the House of Representatives, and see how they're willing to respond with this in Texas. But my point is that through this positive pressure that was appropriate, concerns and opinions were articulated. They were lawful, they were respectful, and because enough kids came forward and complained, they just had no room they just couldn't ignore. And at the end of the day, just like in the universities, parents and students are paying the bill. Without them, these professors wouldn't have their jobs. And the same thing is true in our political system. Without taxpayers and the people they don't have a job. There's no position to be created without us. And the more we can keep articulating this power and empower people to start thinking more like a boss and understanding, the process of how to be a good boss and correct errors and correct things that are wrong when they happen. This is going to dictate whether we're going to be successful as a nation. I mean, we have to be a good boss. We have to be a good business owner, if you will. But we've got to be present. We've got to pay attention. We've got to engage, but we've got to be present. Just like in our families, I'm a father. I have to be present in my children's life. If I'm not going to be present, how do I expect them to turn out to be good? And as a former teacher, I saw what happened in the absence of a father. I've seen what happens in the absence of a mother, but the damage to a child is worse when there's an absence of a father. And I have friends that are African American, and they've told me how they've grown up without fathers and the damage they saw that caused them, their own family. And it's not just African Americans. This is in any culture. But when a society goes after and attacks people and encourages situations that create fatherless situations for kids, no matter what race you are, it causes damage. So anyway, I just hope that kind of helps people that, might be struggling or a bit on the fence as they're learning this process from Dave and all his faithful followers. I believe in this. I believe that this is the answer. It's still going to take time. 40 years in the desert for the Israelites, by a power of 10, we're looking at 60, 70 years of neglect of God and his word in our country. And if it's a power of 10 that he works under for his answers to our prayers, we're looking at about 7 years. And I think most of Dave Groups has only been at this for 3 or 4. So we got a little bit of a road ahead of us, but stay the course. I've been going at this for maybe 4 to 5 months now. And as a former academic, and I tend to think I'm a halfway intelligent guy, I see the value in this. So keep the faith, believe in what Dave's teaching, and just keep applying your principles and the things you're doing to teach people. And remember, it's an opportunity to bring people to God, just as much as it's an opportunity to bring them to the constitutions, and even more so bringing them to God, because this is really about redeeming souls more than anything at the end of the day. Big amen to all of you guys for your work. Thanks for listening, and give me some feedback if you have a chance. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.